Hi guys, this is Nima by Gary, cybersecurity expert, and you're about to see more evidence about the biggest scam in the world, Bitcoin. First of all, I would like to thank those who contacted me and asked how I was doing while I was away. I am fine. However, Bitcoin and Adam Back, aka Satoshi Nakamoto, are not my life priorities. Here are more of findings about Bitcoin.
Why is Libra in Switzerland? Why did all these other cryptocurrencies get started in Gibraltar or Malta or somewhere else?
Did you hear that what he said? Malta. Who is living in Malta? Dr. Adam Back. So you're telling me that this guy didn't know who created the Bitcoin and he spent $19 million on it? Here's me at Dropper House presenting my startup to them. After I released my article about Bitcoin, Dropper House stopped responding to my emails. And here's why.
Have you seen the technology?
Oh yeah,
You've seen it.
I've done it.
And there were 50 tests run on
50
one
tests
drop
on
of blood.
2 drops of blood.
2 drops of blood.
2 drops of blood.
50 tests.
50 tests.
2 drops of blood from your fingers.
Yes. And it worked beautifully.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked beautifully.
Do you trust the results?
Yeah, I do.
This is the thing with fraud. If they get big enough, they're basically too big to fall. It's the same with Bernie Madoff. Who would want to believe that Bernie Madoff is a fraud when he's so big? The bigger something becomes, the more validated it is just because of its size. And the same, I think, happened with Elizabeth Holmes.
Theranos, you were an early investor.
Yep.
Okay, some people are out
My
there.
daughter's best friend.
Okay.
This is in addition to everything. There's so much connection going on. His daughter's best friend. This is one of the things I think that is ignored a lot. You see some really uber successful people, even like Bill Gates, meeting Warren Buffett when he was a kid. There clearly is such a thing as connections. And even if you have to work really hard to get there, it's much easier for a person who is really good friends with someone who is like a really, really rich investor versus someone who has nothing.
Why is Libra in Switzerland? Why did all these other cryptocurrencies get started in Gibraltar or Malta or somewhere else?
I'm definitely curious about whether your views of Theranos or Holmes have evolved since we last spoke to you.
Oh, I think it's pretty much the same. We're very happy continuing at Draper Associates. We're continuing to innovate, to fund new entrepreneurs.
Okay, now we know Theranos is a fraud. Do you have anything to say because you were believing in them so much? And he says nothing has changed, which is a very surprising answer. And it sounds like, are you insane? Because if you say nothing has changed, are you still investing in her? She's being accused of fraud. She's not the CEO anymore. The company will be dissolved.
I like backing those people. I will continue to back those people.
And you still include her in that group.
I think that
the face of the interviewer, he's like, I'm talking to an idiot.
Yes. As I have stated before, these people do know who invented Bitcoin and they are fraud. But they're going to support them because they have invested in them.
And now back to the, earthquake in the U.S. Financial market. So let's talk about that with Max Kaiser, his journalist and broadcaster, joining me from Paris. Many thanks for being with us, Max. Is the worst yet to come for the economy? And do you think these stopgap measures will balance the financial market?
Well, we have a Treasury Secretary in America, Hank Paulson. I'm afraid he's gone insane. He's become like the Colonel Kurtz of Treasury Secretaries.
It is not strange that a guy who wants to save the world from the fiat system works for the most dictators such as Iran and Russia. This guy was getting paid by Iranian government to be on that TV show.
Who else has claimed that there's Satoshi outside of him?
Nobody.
Nobody's ever claimed.
That's right.
Interesting. Do you have any idea yourself? Is there anybody in the community when you talk to you say, you kind of have an idea how this whole thing, who it was, or no? It's still something that's unknown.
It's unknown, and it's better that it's unknown.
Tell me why.
Because if you have a known person attached to it, they become an attack vector. And people will attack that person, and so you don't want that.
Max again has been paid to spread this information, and as you know, Dr. Adam Back confirms that Max Kaiser is their partner on their social platform.
So first one, in your opinion, who is Satoshi Nakamoto?
Well, I think actually it's better that we don't know.
It's unknown, and it's better that it's unknown.
Tell me why.
Because if you have a known person attached to it, they become an attack vector.
You might have heard of Valuetainment channel on YouTube. They cover a lot of Bitcoin news. Max Kaiser was there, Carrick Wright was covered, and I was able to talk with one of Patrick's Bet David's right hands. These videos were paid podcasts, according to him. As soon as I published my first article, I contacted them. But they have told me they weren't interested. However, they have released lots of videos about who is Satoshi Nakamoto. I guess Adam Back pays them very well.
And I operated one for a while, which I rented a shell account from like a one-man ISP, basically, that was in Switzerland at a time when I was living in the UK. So I had some kind of jurisdictional complexity to it to make it more difficult to work your way back. And just figured that I would operate it until such time as there was a major issue, and then I would shut it down. And that would be most likely the end of it. And that's actually how it went, how it progressed. It ran for a few years, well, some years. And then the Swiss Federal Police turned up at the fellow whose mini ISP it was and demanded to know more. So he told me, and I switched the remailer off. And I don't think either of us heard any more about it.
I believe that is how Adam and Mike will meet each other for the first time. And when Mike tries to take Adam's bitcoins or Adam's power, Adam will come back online as Satoshi Nakamoto and kick out Mike and Gavin Andreessen from the project.
So it caused me to think about it in a different way, which is, what's the real problem? The real problem is it's free. So it's a pity that DigiCash didn't make it. And credit card processing was difficult and centralized, and not everybody has one. And so
and there was one more problem, if I can jump in real quick, because I want to ask if you remember this. So you mentioned the problem of centralization of DigiCash. There was another problem, which was that it was patented, and this was a huge source of frustration for the cypherpunks, including yourself. I've read messages of you where because the cypherpunks had this idea that you have this really cool technology. And the way to improve this and the way to actually make this work is to let people experiment with it and let people figure out how to make it work better. But that was actually blocked off by these patents. At one point you grew so frustrated that you offered on the cypherpunk list, let's just buy this patent stand. Do you remember this?
I'd forgotten that, but it was definitely a point of contention. And there was a kind of party when patent expired. And it was the first kind of electronic cash patent to expire because it was so early. Presumably that was filed sometime after 1985, so around 2000.
I think even earlier, Adam. I think the original paper was like 1980.
Could be the blind signature paper.
The paper that references Big Brother. I'm not sure. He had a couple, of course, but I think the earliest digital cash proposal by Chelm was 1980.
He just validated my previous research about the patent issues, and that's why Adam is hiding behind a mask. But I was able to unmask him already. I think these people knew who Adam was from the beginning. Please watch this video to understand how Bitcoin's scam works. Thanks so much. Nima.
Guy goes into a village where he sees thousands of monkeys everywhere. Says, you know what, I'll give you guys $10 each for every monkey you bring me. Villagers start rounding up all the monkeys, bring him thousands and thousands, and he buys them at $10 each until the monkey population starts to get low, and then they stop. The guy says, you know what, I'll tell you what, let's make it $20 each. So this renews the efforts of the villagers. They start gathering up the monkeys until, again, there's not many left. So the guy raises it, says $25 per monkey. This renews the effort a little bit more, but I mean, there's just so few monkeys left. Guy says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to raise the offer, final offer, $50 per monkey, but I got to run into town and take care of some business. I'm going to leave my assistant here to buy them. As soon as the guy leaves, the assistant says, you know what, screw him, man. I'll tell you what, all these monkeys, thousands and thousands of monkeys in these cages. I'll sell them to you guys for $35 each, and when he comes back, you can sell them to him for $50 each. The villagers went around and collected all their life savings, cashed everything in, bought all these monkeys for $35 each, and then never saw the man or his assistant again. Just a bunch of monkeys everywhere. And now you understand how cryptocurrency works.